It begins at a vineyard at northern Napa County, California. A sheriff greets Lisbon and her team of CBI officials. He tells them that a dog found her body at 5:30 a.m. Lisbon and Cho check the body and conclude she died of suffocation. Patrick Jane, the consultant, then adds that someone kidnapped her with the intention to rape her. But she made too much noise and they killed her by mistake. On hearing this, the sheriff asks how does he know this? Does he have some psychic powers or something? To that, Patrick says no powers, but he used to pretend that he had powers. Then the officer asks him what he does exactly. Patrick challenges him to a game of rock, paper, scissors, and somehow wins every time by accurately predicting what the officer would do. The team, along with the officer, goes to inform the dead lady's family of her death. Her name was Melanie. The mother sees the police cars heading towards them and tells her son, named Frankie, to go inside and do his homework. As the parents sob on hearing the terrible news, Patrick enters their house and sees Frankie in Melanie's room and talks to him. Patrick asks Frankie questions about why she removed some posters from her room and lays down on her bed to see the posters that made an H, which she had on her ceiling. Her brother told him she took some out as she felt they were childish now. He asks Patrick if someone has murdered Melanie. Patrick tells him the truth that someone has. The mother tells the police that she's a waitress at the Shand Creek Winery restaurant, and she didn't come home from the night before last. Her shift ends at 11, and her car's still parked there. Lisbon asks the mother if she had any enemies, jealous boyfriends. Her mother said she was shy with boys and had a purity ring till date. In the house, her brother asked Patrick to tell him who killed his sister if he finds out. Patrick asks why, and he says he just wants to know. Lisbon tells Van Pelt that she had faxed her details from the sheriff's department, and that she needs to run details through the database if there are any matches. Patrick tells Lisbon she had a lover she met around Christmas at a fair, whose name begins in H, and that he's either too old for her or too villainous to tell her parents. Patrick bets on the lover being villainous. Lisbon says that's why the victim was not wearing her purity ring. Then the sheriff says he was here the night the girl was taken, as a drunk was not paying his check. Lisbon asked him if he noticed anything unusual. He said he'd seen a black truck speeding out at around 11:45. Lisbon asked the officer if he had the woods around the restaurant checked. He said no, and Lisbon asks him to put some men on it. Patrick and Lisbon are talking with the owners. They offer them some delicious food and tell Lisbon that Melanie worked for them for 3 summers. Patrick asks the owner about a dish. He tells Patrick he used cardamom and a lot of butter. His wife hushes him, but he says it's the truth, and that food is indulgence and necessity all in one. Lisbon asks them what time Melanie left exactly. The owner's wife tells her she'll have to check her time card in her office. As they're heading there, she tells them that they called her Butterfingers, as she was not a very good waitress. Lisbon asks her for a full list of guests they had that night, and a girl named Raquel walks in, and the owner's wife tells her that the police is here to find out what happened to poor Melanie. She seems uninterested and walks away. As she's punching her time card, Patrick asked her if Melanie and her were good friends. Raquel denied it. And then Patrick tells her that that's surprising, because she has a picture of them together on her wall. Lisbon asks her who Melanie's boyfriend was, but she says purity was her thing, and she had no boys. Then Patrick asked her who she cut out of the photo of them. She says she doesn't know. Lisbon leaves Patrick and asks Cho if he can speak to her for a minute. He says no, but later agrees and stands by the door. Patrick hypnotizes her. They later find a sorry note in her locker. They bag the note. Later, the owner gathers all his employees in one room and tells them that the CBI needs their help. Patrick shows the note to everyone and tells them that Cho is a chief graphologist and that they have a strong feeling that whoever left this note is the killer. A chef named Randall faints. They later question Randall at the CBI headquarters, and he tells them that he was talking to her in the parking lot and tried to kiss her, but she kicked him and went away. Then this morning, not knowing that she was missing, he wrote the sorry note and put it in her locker. Van Pelt tells Lisbon that she did the database search she wanted, and a brand of silver tape was used 2 months ago in an auction case in Fairfield. A woman wakes up in a motel room all duct taped to the bed, unharmed. She was found by the cleaners. The police thought it may be a drunken prank, and that she was also a redhead. Patrick tells Van Pelt to call all motels in a 10-mile radius to Shands Creek and check if any had a cash booking that didn't come through on the night of the murder. But Lisbon tells Van Pelt to cross-check all the full-size black trucks with known criminals in the Napa area. Raquel comes to the headquarters, and Patrick says hi to her, and taps her, causing the hypnosis to work. And she blurts out that Melanie was supposed to meet her cousin Hector Romero that night, and they first met at the fair and instantly clicked. And that he's a drug trafficker, and people were killed for less than snitching on him like this. After this, Lisbon asks Patrick if he hypnotized Raquel. He agrees, and Cho says he had told him not to. And Lisbon warns Cho that if he allows this again, he will face strict consequences. The CBI begins a raid at Hector's place, but he jumps out of the window and tries to run away with a machete in hand. Lisbon takes him down. Hector was questioned at the headquarters. He says that he was supposed to meet Melanie, but he was a few minutes late, so he waited for 10 minutes and left because he doesn't wait for anybody, and that he regrets not waiting that night, knowing that maybe he could save her. Patrick and Lisbon argue about him being the killer, but Patrick denies it, saying he's telling them the truth. Patrick sees Melanie's brother at the headquarters and takes him to a restaurant. Patrick asks him where's the gun he's planning to use to kill Hector is. Patrick then calls Van Pelt and tells her to work on the list he asked for, before doing what Lisbon told her, and to call him first when she has it done. Frankie then shows Patrick an axe. Patrick tells him what if Hector's not the killer, and tells the little boy to leave the vengeance part to the police. Frankie asks Patrick if they would kill the murderer when they find out who did it. Patrick says no, but they'll make them sorry they did. The boy was not impressed by his answer, and Patrick continues to tell him that he was the one who caused the death of his little girl and wife. Frankie asked how, and Patrick said that he made an evil man very angry, and he killed them to teach Patrick a lesson. He feels sorry for what he's done, and very few people truly feel sorry for what they've done. Patrick gets a call from Van Pelt, and he goes to a hotel. He asks the attendant at the hotel how the person who booked the place looked. She said he was big, with a hat, thick beard, and sunglasses. Patrick stated that it was an obvious disguise. He later finds bleach and gloves in the room, and assumes he is planning to come back. Later at the headquarters, Lisbon is happy because they found traces of Melanie's blood in Hector's car. They question him about it, and he says that a few weeks ago they had gotten into a fight and he hit her, and she had a bloody nose. Patrick tells Lisbon he feels he didn't do it and has a plan. He books a hotel and takes Lisbon there. At the hotel, through security cameras, they see Van Pelt getting ready, and Patrick tells Lisbon that it is live feed from Shand Creek Restaurant. Van Pelt meets Rigsby, and he checks if the camera wire is visible. Patrick tells Lisbon that all the people that could have killed her are in the restaurant, and that they are presenting an opportunity to the killer, and he is going to take it, as he has no self-control. Rigsby and Van Pelt are on a date, and the plan begins. Van Pelt slaps Rigsby, and he shouts at her and leaves furious. Van Pelt pays and walks out. The sheriff meets her and insists on dropping her. Patrick and Lisbon says he was there on the night of the murder too. The sheriff continues to pressurize Van Pelt, and Rigsby loses it and goes to save her. Cho follows, and the sheriff asks Cho what's going on. Lisbon is not happy, and Patrick says he was sure that the chef Malcolm would bite. And Lisbon tells him it couldn't be him as there were 20 people with him in the kitchen. Patrick tells her that he could have still done it, but she leaves to save her colleagues. But as she's in the parking lot, a black van enters. Patrick, in the bedroom, hears someone entering the flat, holding a taped redhead. There's a flashback of how Malcolm peeks at Melanie in the washroom and kidnaps her in a truck. She tries to make noise, but they accidentally suffocate her. In the room, Malcolm and his wife go to the bedroom and see Patrick. He immediately does something on his phone and tries to run, but they have a gun and stop him. Patrick tells them that the place is surrounded with police and CBI agents. They say he's lying and check the window, and suddenly Lisbon breaks the door open and shoots the couple and goes to save the woman, and looks at Patrick as he's terrified. At their funeral, Van Pelt says that the woman loved helping him kill. One crazy person is understandable, but two? Husband and wife? She continues to say that marriage is supposed to be a sacred, loving thing. But Rigsby says they were soulmates in their own weird way. Thank you guys for watching, and if you liked the video, make sure to watch the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bye!